Good morning to all. Today, our discussion is the debate on treatment of hepatitis B, and to treat or not to treat. I will be presenting the first part, hepatitis B, treat all the cases. So, I will be covering the discussion in the following outlines: the life cycle of hepatitis B virus, natural course and stages of the virus, hepatitis B infection, approach to the hepatitis B positive test, concept of the treatment of hepatitis B, treatment as per the guidelines and evidence beyond the guidelines, and treatment of the special populations. So first I will cover the life cycle of hepatitis B virus. So we can see this is the hepatitis B virus surface antigen. DNA with the DNA polymerase. This enters in the hepatocyte through the anti-CP receptor. In the hepatocyte, it gets uncoated and releasing of the DNA that enters in the nucleus. This DNA becomes the either it can incorporated into the host genome, or it can become the complete CCC DNA. And this CCC DNA further underwent under the transcription and synthesized the pre-genomic mRNAs. These mRNAs gets under reverse transcription and again synthesis of single-stranded DNA followed by double-stranded DNA. This double-stranded DNA either enter again into the nucleus or goes into the endoplasmic reticulum. Here in the endoplasmic reticulum, this DNA gets coating of surface antigen and excreted from the hepatocytes through exocytosis. Apart from this pre-genomic mRNA can directly enter into the endoplasmic reticulum and can synthesize the surface antigen, and this surface antigen can be released in the circulation. So there is more number of the surface antigens are released in the circulation, and these surface antigens cause exhaustion of the host CD8 cells. So what is the natural course of hepatitis B virus infection? It all depends. It will go acute or chronic. It all depends on the mode of the transmission. In case of perinatal transmission, the more than 90% goes to chronic. That is the most common mode of the transmission in India. And after infancy or childhood, if we acquire the infection, the only 5% will go into the chronic and 95% will resolve. Coming to the natural history of hepatitis B virus, so once we get the infection, the DNA remains high for around 15 to 20 years, and there is minimal immunological response of the body. So there is no elevation in the ALT, and after 15 to 20 years, there is immunological response that try to clear the hepatitis B virus DNA and cause the death of the hepatocytes that causes elevation of the ALT level. So this is the immune reactive HB antigen positive phase, and previously that was known as immune reactive HB antigen positive phase. And after this, there is appearance of the E antibodies. So this is known as inactive carrier. Here the ALT is also minimum and DNA is also minimum. And there is no or minimal evidence of the liver disease. The another stage is chronic hepatitis B, E antigen chronic hepatitis B. Here there is minimal activity of the inflammation and a minimal liver injury. The next step is clearance of the hepatitis B virus and loss of the surface antigen. So how to react with a positive test of hepatitis B? Well, first we should know about the E antigen status, whether it's E antigen positive or negative, the titer of the DNA, the assessment of the liver disease status means fibrosis, whether there is no fibrosis, minimal fibrosis or advanced fibrosis, to detect the inflammation by monitoring of the serum ALT levels and screening for cancer. So majority of the population doesn't require liver biopsy. Liver biopsy required in the cases where in the cases of abnormal ALT, when LSM is liver stiffness is in between 7.4 to 9.4, and in the cases of normal ALT, when stiffness is in between 6 to 9 kilopascal, we should do liver biopsy in these cases. And about 50% of the gray zone hepatitis B virus had advanced fibrosis. So what is the concept of treatment? It is to induce the immune response of the host, so that increase the hepatitis B specific CD8 cells, and that helps to clear the virus from the body. That cause loss of the E antigen and loss of the surface antigen. So the virus, the body's immune system, this is the body's immune system that clears the virus from the body. More the immune response, more the chances of the virus clearance. Like in patients of acute infection, there is good amount of CD8, hepatitis B virus specific CD8 cells that cause increased secretion of interferon alpha and interferon gamma, and that leads to more rapid clearance of the hepatitis B virus. But in patients with chronic infection, there is exhaustion of the hepatitis B specific CD8 cells, and there is minimal secretion of interferon, so there is no cytotoxic activity, and hepatitis B virus DNA doesn't clear in the chronic phase. So why to treat hepatitis B virus infection? Because this may hold the disease progression. It also help in the reversal of the advanced fibrosis or reversal of the stages of the cirrhosis. The decompensated patient may lead to recompensation, and it may prevent the occurrence or recurrence of the cancer. It also prevents the transmission of the hepatitis B virus, vertical as well as horizontal, and it also prevents the graft infection in the setting of liver or kidney transplantation. So what are the goals of treatment of hepatitis B virus? One is absolute cure, another one is clinical cure or functional cure. So absolute cure is the no virus, no viral DNA, no surface antigen, and there is no activity of cccDNA in the hepatocytes. On the other hand, in the clinical cure, there is no DNA, no surface antigen, but there is persistence or variable expression of the cccDNA in the hepatocytes. Most of the available treatment options, we can achieve only this thing, the clinical or functional cure. And this is also good because the outcome of these patients is same with person with a resolved infection. So what are the available drugs and efficacy? We have mainly two options, nucleoside-nucleotide analogues and interferons. Interferons mainly have immune modulation action and little antiviral action. So that is why interferons achieve more seroconversion of E antigen and surface antigen. Nucleoside analogues are mainly antiviral role with little or no immune modulation, and in the cases of nucleoside-nucleotide analog, we rarely achieve the E antigen or surface antigen seroconversion. So what are the guidelines for hepatitis B virus treatment? So this is the EASL guideline published in 2018. They said that patient with hepatitis B virus, if there is evidence of chronic hepatitis B, means ongoing inflammation with or without cirrhosis, they recommend the start of the treatment. If there is no evidence of inflammation and there is no advanced liver disease, they suggest the monitoring and suggest the treatment in the specific population like family history of cancer, risk of hepatitis B virus infection, particularly in the immune suppressed candidates, and extrahepatic manifestation of the hepatitis B. Same thing with the ASLD guideline. If the ALT level is persistently below the normal limit, despite of the high DNA level, they recommend the monitoring, and they recommend the treatment with the nucleoside analogues in the patient with the ALT level persistently high, above the 2 times, with high DNA levels. In the E antigen positive, same thing with E antigen negative also, and APASL is also same. So what happens with the untreated hepatitis B cirrhotic patients? So natural history of untreated hepatitis B cirrhosis, this study followed the patients for 10 years and detected that there is a risk of decompensation and ongoing risk of hepatocellular cancer up to around 20% in the 5-year follow-up. And there is also associated poor survival around 28% at 5 years if these patients with hepatitis B virus with cirrhosis are not getting any kind of treatment. So this study of 4-year entecavir therapy compared with no treatment, large study of 1315 patients from Taiwanese population. They followed the patient for 4 to 6 years, and they found that the cumulative incidence of SCC was less in patients with antiviral treatment as compared to no treatment. Risk of decompensation in the form of varicose bleeding was less in the treatment group. Similarly, there was less requirement of liver transplant, there was less mortality in the treatment group as compared to no treatment group. So this indicates that treatment of hepatitis B virus with cirrhosis is indicated. So what happens in the decompensated cirrhosis? Another study of around 7,100 patients. This is the observational study, followed patient for more than 5 years. They found that after starting of the treatment, in the first year, the mortality rate was somewhere 2.4 to 19%, and cancer rate was 14%, and another decompensation rate was somewhere around 50%. After starting of the treatment, after 1 year, this rate was dropped down to 3.4, 2.5, and 3.4%. So there is drastic decrease in the rate of second decompensation, rate of recurrence of the SCC, and also decrease in the mortality rate. So this meta-analysis of 22 studies in the decompensated cirrhosis, they shown that a patient who received antiviral treatment versus no treatment, there was better without liver transplant survival and less recurrence of hepatocellular cancer in this population. So long-term effect of antiviral on disease course after decompensation in patient with hepatitis B virus-related cirrhosis. So this study involved 707 patients, compared two groups, no treatment versus treatment, and showed that liver transplant-free survival was better in the treatment group as compared to no treatment. And also there was improvement in the CTP and MEL score over the 5 years of the follow-up. So coming to the most common case scenario of the hepatitis B virus, a 43-year-old male patient who was a blood donor and found to have HBs antigen positive during the blood donation. His ALT was 36, done for 2 visits, the same value. DNA is high, he is E antigen positive. So what is the diagnosis? This is a chronic hepatitis B virus infection that is incidentally detected asymptomatic hepatitis B positive subject. This is the state of chronicity without ongoing inflammation. This is the most neglected population of hepatitis B. No guideline recommend the treatment for this population and advise to follow up and monitor. The good thing is majority of these patients remain well, but not all. So this study from the similar population, number is 73 with age around 30 years, showed that in the patient who had persistently normal ALT, around 40% of these subjects who is HBe antigen positive and persistently normal ALT, they have significant fibrosis, means F2, F3 or F4 fibrosis. So another study shown that high hepatitis B virus DNA with risk of SCC is associated with risk of SCC and cirrhosis. This is the Taiwanese study, population-based study of 3,500 subjects. They compared the level of hepatitis B virus DNA and they followed the patients for more than 10 years. They found that the entry point hepatitis B virus DNA level was associated with the prevalence of the incidence of liver cirrhosis in the follow-up. Lower the DNA titer, lower the risk of cirrhosis, higher the DNA titer, higher the risk of cirrhosis. Another study found the risk of hepatocellular cancer is also dependent on the level of hepatitis B virus DNA. Lower the DNA titer, less risk of cancer development in the immune tolerant subjects. higher the DNA titer, more the risk of development of SCC in immune tolerant subjects who were not received on any treatment. So this study done by Kim et al., they shown the high risk of SCC and death in patient with immune tolerant phase with chronic hepatitis B virus. They have compared 413 untreated patients with untreated patient with around 1500 immune active patients who were receiving antiviral treatment. So they found that patients who were receiving in the immune tolerant group, there was high risk of SCC as compared to the patient who were active hepatitis B with on treatment. Also, there was increased risk of death or requirement of the liver transplantation in the immune tolerant group. So this is not the group we should be where we should not start the treatment. This study who compared the nucleotide analog treatment for patient with immune tolerant group, they compared they found in the 644 patient, they compared with the control group, and at the 5 years they found that there was less risk of cancer as compared to the control group. Also, there was less risk of development of liver cirrhosis as compared to the control group in the treatment group. So, which antiviral is better for prevention of hepatocellular cancer? So, this article published in Journal of Hepatology recently, and they found that tenofovir is better to prevent the SCC as compared to entecavir, and this difference starts after 2.5 years of starting of the treatment. So, how to convert the untreatable population to treatable one? In the immune tolerant phase, there is no immunological activity, and so that is why there is less seroconversion with antivirals. So we can induce the phase of virus, means from chronic to acute, like many of the studies have tried interferon steroids and intermittent antiviral to stimulate the virus flare. So this is the concept. In the chronic hepatitis B virus, in the immune tolerant phase, because of the high surface antigen level, there is exhaustion of the hepatitis B virus specific CD8 cells. So there is minimal inflammatory activity. If we start the antiviral drug, that will lower the DNA, lower the surface antigen, and this will lead to restoration of the T cell response, and after some time it will cause increased immunological response, and it will help to clear the virus, to lose the E antigen and surface antigen also. So this concept is applied in the lamivudine pulse therapy study. In this study, initially the lamivudine pulse in the immune tolerant patients, the lamivudine was started on the dose of 100 mg per day given for 4 weeks. Then the DNA came down, the ALT remained normal. Then they stopped the lamivudine for 2 weeks. Here the DNA, the rebound in elevation of the DNA occurs, and also associated with elevated ALT level. So this is the stage of immune restoration. And after 2 weeks, the lamivudine was restarted, or certain studies also started interferon also. So here this restarting of the lamivudine helps to decrease in the ALT, control of the DNA, decrease in the hepatitis B virus DNA. This way, there is rise in ALT was seen in 42% of the subjects, and seroconversion was seen in 35% of the patients at 17 months of the follow-up. So acute hepatitis B. Hepatitis B virus, this depends on the mode of infection. In the case of vertical infection, 95% remains chronic. In the horizontal infection, around 95% will clear the infection. But this acute hepatitis B virus may cause prolonged illness, may lead to liver failure. So should we start the treatment for acute hepatitis B or not? Because in hepatitis B, in the acute infection, there is a high number of virus-specific B cells that try to clear the virus. If we start the antiviral in the early phase, that antibody response may not be seen in the patients of acute hepatitis B virus, and that also can cause persistence of the virus for a longer time. and around 10% of the acute hepatitis B virus infected patient may not develop antibodies in the follow-up. So this randomized controlled trial, they tried lamivudine 100 milligram per day with the placebo controlled trial. They found that there was no beneficial effect of the lamivudine in acute severe hepatitis B virus infection. But this later on published observational study of 32 patients, they tried lamivudine and entecavir or tenofovir. Out of 32 patients, 3 required liver transplant and 24 patients followed for more than 100 days. All had seroconversion in the form of loss of surface antigen at 108 days. All developed antibody at around 138 days in the follow-up. So we can start the treatment in case of acute hepatitis B virus. In cases when there is fulminant hepatitis B virus, severe acute viral hepatitis B in the form of encephalopathy, bilirubin more than 10 or INR more than 1.6, protracted course of hepatitis B virus more than 4 weeks. In the cases of immune compromised host, concomitant hepatitis C or hepatitis D virus infection or underlying chronic liver disease. So patients with immune suppression like surface antigen positive or anti-core total antibody positive, there is risk of reactivation around less than 1% to more than 10%, depends on the type of immune suppressive therapy. So this is study of entecavir versus lamivudine in patient with lymphoma on arch of chemotherapy. They found that introduction of entecavir, there is no risk of hepatitis B virus related hepatitis in this cohort, and there was minimal risk of hepatitis B virus reactivation, better compliance to chemotherapy, and there was less treatment related adverse effects. So guidelines recommend that all hepatitis B virus patients with immune suppressive therapy should be started on nucleoside analog treatment with at least more than 12 months post chemotherapy. So coming to pregnancy with hepatitis B, pregnancy is associated with recurrent spontaneous flares, especially after the 3 to 4 weeks of delivery, and that is sometimes it is associated with bad outcome of the pregnancy in the form of low birth weight, premature delivery. Also there is risk of vertical transmission to the newborn baby, and this carries the high risk of chronicity in the newborn children. So this is study of 220 pregnant women with hepatitis B virus DNA, more than 20,000 international units. They compared tenofovir group versus control group. They found that in the control group, there was high risk of vertical virus transmission in the newborn babies, 18% as compared to 5% in the tenofovir group. So guideline recommends that pregnancy with high hepatitis B virus DNA more than 20,000 should be started on the antivirals, preferably in between 24 to 28 weeks. Coming to the hepatitis C and hepatitis B virus co-infection, there is interplay between hepatitis C and hepatitis B virus co-infection. Once we start the anti-HCV treatment, that may cause flare of the hepatitis B virus. Like this is the study of 29 patients. 9 had detectable DNA virus at the time of starting of the HCV treatment, but there was no cirrhosis, not fulfilling for the criteria of hepatitis B virus treatment, and they had flare. Out of those, 3 had bad outcome in the form of death, and 1 required liver transplantation. So EASL guideline recommends that hepatitis B virus patient going for DA therapy should be considered for nucleoside analog for at least for 12 weeks post DA therapy. Monitoring in the case of HBs antigen negative with anti-HBC positive cases should be done. So hepatitis B virus with HIV, there is faster progression of the cirrhosis. Now NACO recommends ART for all HIV patients. It may cause immune reconstruction syndrome if not started on hepatitis B virus specific therapy, and that may lead to liver injury. So combination therapy should be considered for hepatitis B and HIV infection, preferably in the form of tenofovir based ART regimen. Coming to hepatitis B and hepatitis D virus co-infection, hepatitis D virus co-infection associated with rapid progression of the disease, more risk of cirrhosis and hepatocellular cancer, and it can present with co-infection, superinfection, or chronic hepatitis D virus infection. If there is elevated ALT with presence of hepatitis D virus RNA, we should consider for the hepatitis D virus specific therapy. Nowadays, the recommended treatment is interferon. The duration is for 12 months, and the response is very good. Majority of the patients have undetectable hepatitis D virus RNA at 24 weeks with normalization of the ALT. Another options are Mircludex and bulevirtide. These are the oral medications. So this study done by Lampertigo et al. They compared the bulevirtide monotherapy for 48 weeks in patients with the hepatitis D virus related compensated cirrhosis. They found that at 48 weeks there was very good virological response, 78%. And 23% had undetectable hepatitis D virus RNA, and majority of the patient had a normalization of the ALT level. So another analysis by the same group, they published that alone bulevirtide is associated with less clearance of the hepatitis D virus RNA as compared to combination in the form of PEG interferon alpha and bulevirtide. So can we stop the treatment in hepatitis B virus? There is high risk of flare that happens in around 60 to 70% of the patient. So risk of the relapse is less in patient where quantification of the surface antigen is less than 100 international unit per ml, and who receive longer consolidated treatment, lower hepatitis B virus DNA at the start of the treatment, no pre-core or basal core promoter mutations. So risk of flare can cause acute hepatitis, fulminant liver failure, progression to the cirrhosis. Risk of SCC is also increased in the cases of flare, but sometimes it may cause clearance of the virus. So key message, treatment of the hepatitis B requires in all the patients, and nucleoside analogues may not adding the absolute cure but prevents the complication of hepatitis B virus related complications. It reduces the risk of progression of the liver disease, reverses the liver injury, and minimizes the risk of flares, prevents the transmission, lessens the risk of hepatocellular cancer. Absolute cure may not be feasible with currently available antivirals. There are newer drugs. There are hope for the cure of hepatitis B virus. Thank you.